because their bills did not go down. And you know that is that, you know, the water bill gets shared out amongst the tenants and refuse bill gets shared out. So they've got to find a way to make them whole or bridge that gap. So that's one of the things that's positive in the federal relief funds, as well as monies for commercial businesses, especially targeting the small businesses, not the chains that have a lot of access to the prior funding round, but the more independent businesses that they can kind of offset some of their loss of revenue, as well as including keeping employees on payroll and keeping their doors open however they can. And if you haven't heard, we're in the red tier, which is good. It's better. There was a brief period of time before Halloween last year that we were in orange. That lasted about 4 weeks. We went from purple to red to orange, and then back to red for about 3 days, and then back to purple. So we're hopeful now with the vaccinations being spread out in the county and the state that we will continue to progress. And if you haven't heard, as of today, Contra Costa County has opened up to schedule appointments. Not that you'll get your shot right away, for anybody who's 50 and older with no medical conditions. So that's good. So we're starting to see some progress there. Again, how fast you're able to get an appointment is going to be based upon the supply of vaccinations. And I know Solano County rolled it out, I think last week. And then this week they're short vaccinations and they're having to postpone a lot of the appointments. So it's ebb and flow with the supply. And some of the supply comes from the Midwest. And every time you see the big blizzards happen back there, you can count on it being delayed shipment out, and they have to reduce their production because they can't ship it out and they have to keep it in freezers. So they have to ramp down their production until they can get the product out the door and distribute it again. So there is a supply chain issue. And some of that has to do with not only the states opening up and having more vaccinations available to more people, but also weather conditions from where some of the vaccinations are. None of this was being produced in Las Vegas, Nevada. So there you go. So that's some of the highlights on where we're going with some of our Measure V funds and both homelessness and street improvement projects. I know those were important to folks, and I do have the list of 100 questions here, all the questions, and I can go through those now, or if I can take questions from you folks first that are on the call, however you want to handle this, Colleen.
So if anybody does have any questions, Laura, why don't you we'll take a couple questions here, then you can answer a couple of the questions that were submitted.
Sure.
But I know that Camille had a question. So Camille, did you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question you'd like?
Sure. Thank you. Oh, let me just take my video here. Hi, everybody. Good evening. And thank you, Councilmember Hoffmeister, for taking time to talk with us. This is my first time coming to this meeting, and so hello, neighbors. But I just wanted to share a story and also request support from this community and also from you, Councilmember Hoffmeister. So it's been on my mind for about 3.5 years, or 3+ years. I moved here in 2017. I live in Dana Estates, near kind of like the eatery area off of Concord and Landana. Mm-hmm. This is a quick sharing of just my family's experience in Concord. There's a sign above the speed limit sign on Landana going east from Willow Pass Drive. It is a sign that has bright blue eyes on it with the words "radar is watching," mm-hmm. angry eyebrows and small pupils. This is a sign that has always made me feel and my family feel very uncomfortable here and feel unsafe and unwelcome in this community. There are other people in our neighborhood and in the city of Concord that would agree with me. And to be explicit, I don't know if other people experience this sign in the same way, but I know that for me as a family of color in Concord, it feels like blue eyes and that is white that is watching us, and not in a good way. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel safe. So I wanted to bring this up because it bothers my family. But I never felt safe to bring it up because I felt like nobody would care. So I do want to share this to just my neighbors that that's something that our family feels. I think that the signs are outdated and they should be changed. I know that they're all over Concord. Mm-hmm. I know that the city of Concord has values and presents itself as somewhat for families, which it is. And I think it has been a good place for kids and our family. I have 2 kids. Also, it's a city that values respect for others and for diversity and inclusivity. And that's part of the vision statement on the website. It's a little old. It's been since 1996 that the statements on there, but it's on there. I think that's important. I know we're a growing city and we'd like to be attractive to new people coming into the city, and the Bay Area is a city of inclusivity and diversity. And I think that shifting the sign and making it different and more inclusive, I think is important. I don't know if there's folks who support me. If there are, I'd love to hear it, because it took a long time to say this or come to a place to be able to say it. So thanks for your time. Is there any way that the signs can be changed?
You know what, Camille, thank you very much for that, because, you know, they have been around for a long time. And going back in history, I want to say that the state might have set forth what options we had for signage. And if it is something that's controlled by the state, I will certainly communicate, and I will encourage you to communicate with Assemblymember Grayson about some legislation to give us some flexibility. But let me check into that first, because there may be flexibility we already have. But yes, I know the sign, the blue and white ones with the red. And the other thing that when you were speaking about that, I know we have some neighborhood watch signs up too, and there's a couple of versions we have. And I think one of them is very similar to the one you're talking about for radar enforced. It's like the little, I can't remember. It's like a detective and the eyes and the watching you neighborhood watch community. And I'm not sure which ones, if we have one up, and I think we have a couple up in Dana State somewhere, but you know, I think both those signs need to take a look at to see that they're not, we're in a different time. We're in a different time. And I understand that that could be interpreted as being negative, and it doesn't go inside with what we state for a mission statement, which I agree. Yes, it's old, but I think it transcends year after year, which is nice that it still holds up. And we just need to make sure that what we have out there presents itself and ties in with that same mission statement that we have articulated to the public that we care about and we try to live up to. And obviously I hadn't thought about this, but you bring up a very good point. So let me check in with our folks and see if there's other options that we have. Definitely. But thank you for sharing that. It's good to have different perspectives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Camille, and I really am very grateful that you asked the question. And never be afraid to ask any of the questions.
Absolutely.
Our neighborhood is so welcoming, as the city of Concord is also welcoming. And you're definitely, and I've seen your little girl. She is such a cutie pie. I just want to tell you that. She's a cutie. Okay.
And I will tell everybody, there is no dumb or stupid question.
Amen.
No. So you want to go ahead and start asking the questions that maybe the neighbors brought in, or you want me to ask them to you?
No, I can, well, I've got them, so they may not be in the order that you sent them to me, but
so that's okay.
some folks had asked, did we have any information on the percentage of Concord renters? What is our housing vacancy? What is the housing vacancy like? And what is the average market rate for rental? And I do have that information. Approximately 40% of Concord is renters. Now, this data was about a year and a half ago before COVID, so it could have changed since then. But that was the last data we had, was about 40%. It could be a little higher now, just because a lot of people have left urban areas and have come out to the suburbs and have been able to seek rental that has a little bit more space, and not being in an urban area that they can go out and socially distance. The data on renters will be updated when we get our new census information, which probably won't be until later this year. 5% right now of our total housing stock is listed as vacant. So it's a tight housing market. You've seen that even on ownership and rentals, but it's tight. People are desiring to come to the suburbs, especially those that are coming from the higher density urban city areas that have the ability to relocate. Average market rate on rent for a 1-bedroom is about $1,500. A 2-bedroom is a little over $1,800 a month, and for a 3-bedroom was almost $2,200 a month. Now that can vary. This is average citywide. So other areas, if you're near a park, you've got more open space around you, you're in a better, well, I don't know that schools work right now, but in any case, in school areas that have better numbers on their matrix, those could be higher, but this is average citywide. So that was one of the questions that was asked of us, or asked of me.
Right.
So I don't know
Before
if
you
you
go on to
want
the
me to
next
answer
question-
another question, or you want to go to the public here that's here, because I kind of want to make sure they who have weighed in tonight that have spent the time can get their question in.
Yes, and Angela, is there any questions in Zoom? Do you
Right,
see
we
any
do
questions?
have one from Joyce. Her question is, what's going on with the Naval Weapons Station? Is it ever going to be developed? Can they start with the proposal protected land area?
Thank you for the question. That was one that also I got in advance, and the
Sure.
base reuse process is kind of, I don't want to say taking a step back, but we're redoing the step. We had Lennar as a master developer who left the picture. We have to go out and get a new master developer. We have a subcommittee of the council who's been working on how that process will look. And then the city council will have to agree to that process. And then we will have to advertise out to the development community to see if they're interested in being our master developer. All the work that's been done to date is not for naught. It just means a new master developer will need to pick up and start where we left off, which was finalizing a specific plan and doing the environmental studies that go with that specific plan. In the meantime, we've still been working with the Navy, who owns the property, not the city, and the Department of Defense through the Navy on different cleanup aspects out there on the base. And with COVID, some of that has slowed down a bit, but they're still responsible for cleaning up sections of it so it's suitable for transfer, so that the master developer can acquire that piece that it's been cleaned to whatever the development plan has established in it, so that we can get that process going. So I think we're looking at sometime in summer, fall, to probably bring something forward to the council about what the ad hoc or the subcommittees worked on in terms of the criteria for a master developer. And that will take several months to get one secured, get them under contract, and start the process up again. So it's probably not going to be until later this year, or probably more likely in 2022, that we start that process up again. And what was the second part to that question? Said something about was it the buffer area?
The question was, can they start with the proposed protected land area?
I'm not quite sure what it means by the proposed protected land area. There is property that was set aside for East Bay Regional Park District to be incorporated into their ownership, and that's a huge amount, like 1,300 acres. That's already been transferred to East Bay Regional Park District, so that's moving forward. And yeah, the hills, some of the hills will be part of the East Bay Parks District plan. I just want everybody to realize the fence line is about 100 yards over our side. So city of Pittsburgh actually owns the top of the hill and downward. And they have development plans to develop that area that we've been working on. They just approved the Sino subdivision area for up there. And I need to go back and look at them, because our comments were keep the development off the ridge line and down, so that the street light poles, the infrastructure is not visible above the top of the hills. And I've been assured that that's supposedly what the council approved, but we haven't seen the final documentation yet. We're following up on that, but that we've never had. So about 100 yards over the top of the ridge line is city of Pittsburgh. And we've been pushing them to keep that as a buffer. And so that their development, I told them, look, I don't care what you do on the other side of the ridge line. And that includes the tops of buildings and the street light poles and the utility infrastructure, so that that's not visible above the top of the elevation there. And we got into discussions and arguments about, well, what happens if you're at the top of the parking garage in downtown Concord and can see kind of over the top of the ridge? Is it at eye level? Is it below level? Is it above? So we kind of came to an agreement about how that would work. And supposedly they've adhered to that agreement, but we have yet to see the final documentation, because that hearing just happened literally within that last 10 days. Mr. Walker has a question.
Yeah, Laura, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. So that question about the rent and the rental properties was my question. What I'd like to know is, do you know what the average income is for Concord residents or the citizens of Concord? Because affordability index is pegged to 1/3 of total gross income, not to exceed for your housing. And so once it
That's-
exceeds 1/3, that's a problem from a financial perspective and
Sure.
a banking institution.
Uh,
And so that's
I-
what I'm kind of curious about. You may
Yeah,
not
I
even
don't-
know, but
I
I'm
don't
curious.
have the number off the top of my head, but I want to say it was in the like $70,000 range. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. $70,000 to $80,000 range. We were actually not too bad in the county. You got to realize though that when you do the 30%, that's the theoretical, that works.
Well,
In the 1980s,
Yeah.
we had a problem. The 1970s, I go back and look at the studies. In the 1970s, people were talking about the same thing. People are spending 50% of their income on housing in Bay Area. And it was the
That's a
same
huge
issue in the
issue.
70s, the 80s. It's not gone away. We have not been able to
Right.
crack that nut.
well, I'm just trying to
very-
understand it because those kinds of things will tell you when they say below market rate, affordable housing, but that doesn't mean anything if you're not connecting it to some kind of dollar.
Sure.
And so that's why I was just curious about the rental rate, how many, because when they talk about affordability, what does that mean if everybody's making 75 and you got 1/3, 33%? So when banks do loans or mortgages, if you're over 33% for just your mortgage, they're not going to give you the loan. By the time you stick a car payment on top of that and any kind of credit card debt, you're in a world of hurt right there. So I was just trying to get a sense of when I'm reading op-ed or reading things in the newspaper in East Bay Times, I'm just trying to get a sense of what they're talking about. Because just throwing out those word affordable housing or below market rate, that doesn't mean anything unless there's a number attached to it. So I
Right.
don't need to go any further than that. So I'm
No,
just,
and
I was just
you know
curious.
what, Paleo, you mentioned the East Bay Times periodically, and I want to say it's about maybe every other month or quarterly, they do that spread that has the
Right.
income levels with every county. And they
Right.
get that
All right.
from the real estate community, which is more updated than what our sources are, because we have to go by
Yeah.
census and other data information that may be lagging their data.
Right.
But I can certainly get that information and send it out
And
because
you don't need to, I mean, one of the things they're not talking about is there's 3.5 million homes in the United States right now that are in forbearance. What that means to all of us that don't understand that is, or know about that is, year ago, March, there's 3.5 million people that have not made their mortgage for the last
Yes.
year, but because the federal government has said you can't evict or kick any of those people out. So now the can has been kicked down the road till September. But what happens if they don't renew it in September? All those 3.5 million people, now they're going to be subject to foreclosure, bankruptcies, the whole getting kicked out of whatever. And then you're going to see all these homes. So that 5% you're talking about, that's a really false number for really. That 3.5 million is going to come on the market and there's going to be a flood of housing. And then you're going to see maybe, I mean, I'm more an economist than not, but you're going to see a crash or a softening of housing prices. So for a seller, not good. For a buyer, that's great. So I'm just,
we
anyway.
all know right now the housing market is way overheated. It's been pushed
Right.
with the pandemic, with those that can't afford to get out of urbanized areas and are moving to suburbs. I mean, the Tracy Hills are just got waiting lists for homes up there.
yeah.
$500,000 and you get a 20,000 square foot lot and brand new everything and amenities. I mean, who wouldn't?
But-
If you can
But then you
do
got to
it.
live out there, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and
I don't
some
live
of these
that
people
far
are
out.
some of these people are they're
Yeah.
Silicon Valley people and they're able to telecom and telecommute now ongoing into the future. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I know the federal government is what they've been trying to do with this bill that just passed is to try to make a
Right.
soft landing and to try to provide funding for those who own the investment properties to be compensated, as well as giving some monies and relief to those that are upside down, so that when the economy recovers, they'll be able to get either more fully employed or employed, and then it kind of rises up. It's a,
But it's still
God bless the
not-
federal government. It's a hard nut to crack and try to figure out the right.
Yeah, I mean, there is
formula?
no right or wrong here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
They're trying.
yeah, I mean, that's all you
They're
can
just
do,
trying
but,
because they see the same thing that we all see, that you see. Is like, well, you can't just let this go. Something needs to
Right.
happen, and that's why they put a lot of
Right.
relief in this new funding source to address both the tenants as well as the property owners of both commercial and residential, to see if they can try to balance that. So as things
Right.
come back, there's a little soft landing and a little bit of a rebound. That we'll see if it matches up. It's their best guess.
well, as the Zen masters say, we shall see. But thank you
Well,
for
I
your
will
time.
tell you, it's better than having nothing. If we had nothing, it would be a world of hurt.
We shall
Definitely.
see. We
So
shall
we shall
see.
see. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that shakes out. Got another question
Yeah.
there, Colleen?
Thank you.
Actually, I have another question on YouTube, from the YouTube audience. When can we go back to the city council meetings? Live,
Good
I
question.
guess is what they mean.
We don't know. It's based upon the healthcare directives from the state. And right now, Red is not a place where you can hold public meetings in closed quarters, and it may not be until we're further down. And now I know the governor said you got to go to orange and then you go to yellow, but there's going to be something before green or different levels of green. I think we'll see where this goes when we have, like I said, today they announced the vaccinations for 50 and younger, 50 and older, unrestricted. I'm assuming people will sign up and they'll be overwhelmed, and it's going to take a while to sort through the backlog of people who've requested a vaccination. I think May we'll be able to see a little bit better picture of what that looks like and where we are. In Concord, the dilemma is the only people that have been vaccinated have been those that qualified because of health or medical condition, plus our police officers and our some of our frontline maintenance staff. Nobody else in the offices have had access to vaccinations. Oh yeah, Joel's raising his, but I mean, it just depends on where or how you are. Based upon the criteria, there's not a lot. And we have, a lot of people that are only in their 30s and 40s in our offices working. And we need to make sure that they're going to be safe. And that's the same thing with our council meetings and the staff that's there. And more than likely, what we don't want to have happen is open up a council meeting and then we only have, 25% occupancy. And that doesn't serve the public well if there's more people that want to attend. There's also legislation being worked on in Sacramento to allow us to do a hybrid, where we could also do it in person as well as continue with Zoom. And there's a big interest in that in the public and the cities and the counties throughout the state. We're able to do this now only because of special legislation that only lasts as long as the pandemic restrictions or directives last. So there is an interest in that. The bigger challenge is we want to make sure we have funding if we do hybrid that allows us to set up all the technology in our council chambers to accept the Zoom platform, the remote platform. And there may be money in the federal bill. We don't have the details yet. They're still working on them. That may allow us to access that for funding to be able to put in that. Because I think this is pushed where we thought the future was going to go, with a lot more remote accessibility, just faster. 10 years from now, we probably would have been here, but we got here a lot faster. We got in the fast lane and just went. And so now the question is, people like this as an option, and how can we include that? And the first step is we need to have legislation. So stay tuned. We'll see. In orange, last time around, we weren't allowed to open. So I'm not thinking it's going to be till yellow or one of the green levels.
Thank you. And does anyone else have any questions here on Zoom before Laura goes to the next question from the public previously?
Hi, Laura. It's just Joel. I was just commenting on Highway 4. I've only been here 3 years, and I've seen that expansion and a lot of work there. It seems to be coming pretty well. Comments on Highway 4 expansion.
Yeah. The only downside to it is the congestion and the traffic zone you have to go through, the construction zone you have to go through, but no pain, no gain. And I know we've had some accidents up there because of the constrained lanes, because you don't have a lot of buffer room if something happens, or if a car makes a sudden movement, there's not that emergency lane. You've got a concrete wall here and you got this there. So hopefully, we'll be able to get that further along and keep improving it and, be finished with that project, and it'll be safer and better for everybody at the end of the day. But, we're getting there, but thank you, Joel. Want me to go to my questions here?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this kind of followed up on something that was asked earlier about, they've noticed the homeless people walking through the neighborhood. What is the city doing for homeless? And in addition to the core outreach program that we have, that are expanding to address homelessness, as well as including mental health experts. We also, through the funding we got through the CARES Act from the state, which came from the feds, we were able to put some of that money into hotels that were being used by the homeless. And then we're putting some additional money, as I said, into the core team to become full-time. And I believe we've gotten some funds, we believe, from the federal side that can probably work with the county to extend some of those homeless programs in the hotels in our community. So that's one of that. And then, like I said, the core team is trying to access the homeless with the resources based upon what their needs are, and they're trying to get them connected. As far as what I said before, we're not disturbing the encampments if they're, not causing a health issue or a safety issue. And then under the state regulations about you're able to camp if you're not blocking sidewalks, and if you're in the park during the daytime, it's all fine and dandy. Next question I have is, will we have a 4th of July celebration? The mayor's trying to see if he could do something as a drive-in celebration and fireworks, but it's not looking likely based upon the county health directives and the locations that we're looking at that can accommodate the number of cars and the issues from the fire department with setting off the fireworks. So stay tuned, but we're not going to have likely a parade this year because the county is telling us not to have any public gatherings until after we get through this fall. So I'm hopeful that we could have tree lighting downtown, because by then I think there's going to be enough vaccinations out in the community. The numbers will be down, that if you wear a mask and come out and are socially distanced, a tree lighting would be probably doable. But we will see, because there's a lot of concern over gatherings at Easter time, and will we see a pop like we did in Halloween? Hopefully with more of the vaccinations out there, we won't see as big as a pop. And then there's also a concern about summer backyard barbecues, people gathering, and could that increase the spread? So the county health is right now telling us don't plan on it. And so that's probably not going to be a real live event. It would probably be something we did before that would have to run virtually. And like I said, we're still working on research of fireworks, but right now it's not clear that they will be allowed and that we can make them happen. So online event is probably where we're going to go again for this year. Another question, or you want me to read my next one?
Go on to the next one.
Okay, it ties right in. Complaints about all of the neighborhood fireworks that were going off on the 4th of July and many weeks afterwards. What is the city or the police department doing to solve the problem? It's hard on the animals, children's, and the public. It's a tough nut to crack because we only have so many officers. By the time you call us and where it is and we get out there, they're gone. There's not a lot that we can do in citations of them because it requires the courts to uphold the citation. The district attorney's office is not doing that. So they know they can get away with it. The bigger problem is those aerial fireworks. We've seen more and more of them, not just the pop, pop, pop firecrackers in the neighborhood. People are being able to secure those online through various sources and have them shipped to them. Thank you, Amazon and the world. I don't know it's Amazon, but they can do that. In the old days, you used to have to take BART over to Chinatown in San Francisco and buy your illegal fireworks. It was legal there because you can only set them off in Chinatown, but the kids would bring them back to the neighborhood and set them off. But what we have today is a lot more higher end aerial fireworks that the public's able to get their hands on. And so we try to, be proactive in sending out education materials about them being illegal. The fire department is the lead on this, working with our police department. We try to target where the hot spots might be and have police in that area. Some of the school grounds, in the playground areas at some of the schools, people will try to be responsible. They don't want to do it in their neighborhood. They know it's going to be, so they go in some of the areas in the fields and the asphalt playground areas are behind the buildings. So we don't have access in because they've hopped the fence and went over there and set them off, and it's on school grounds, and they have their own security people that roam around all the areas. So we try our best, but it's a tough thing. We're going to try to increase patrol to those hotspot areas. That's the best we can kind of do. Not only was it bad at 4th of July, because I know in my neighborhood, New Year's Eve, everybody saves them to set them off on New Year's Eve too. And we had a whole round go off on New Year's Eve in my neighborhood as well. So that's been a tough nut to crack. So what we know that if there was a hot spot in your neighborhood, in your community area last year, please send it to the corporal and he can put it on the list. We're trying to compile that list of where we knew of last year from people that called in, but some people might not have called in. So we want to make sure you guys have that, any locations you thought of in your neighborhood, like Garinger Park or some other larger areas where neighbors might have gone out to shoot them off at. Any other questions, or you want me to go to the next one?
Angela, did you see any questions? 'Cause I have none on from the YouTube group.
There are no
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
incoming
Okay.
questions.
Well, this is a question somebody had, I think, read in the paper about the Seven Hills Ranch property off of over in Heather Farms Park, which is actually in Walnut Creek. It's not in Concord. So I just wanted to let you know that, they were concerned about the land, and the land is being sold by the ownership, and the developers trying to work on how to incorporate, some preservation of the area, as well as developing a senior housing project there. And because it's a residential project and senior housing, it's got a lot of state legislation that backs it up, that you can't really deny it. But it is not actually, it's in the city, it's in Walnut Creek, but it's actually unincorporated. So it's the County Board of Supervisors and the County Planning Commission that will be dealing with that project. The city of Walnut Creek has weighed in with some comments, and they're still considering other comments, but not in our area. Next question was, the East Bay Times had an article or a letter to the editor, I believe it was, from George Fulmer, saying the state does not need more market rate housing. I told you about the percentage of renters, so that's been answered. Coast Guard property, we didn't talk about that yet, which people want to know. The Coast Guard properties on Olivera and Willow Pass Road there, across from Willow Pass Park and going toward Pixie Playland. That is separate from the rest of the base. It was sold recently to a successful bidder by the Coast Guard on a public auction process for $58 million. The Government Services Agency of the Coast Guard, which is handling the sale, has not disclosed who the owner is yet to us. We know that there's a team of developers that are working on it, and they are trying to, figure out, I think, what their next steps are. But they were the successful bidder, and I don't know, because the Navy or the Coast Guard has not shared with us, like, being a successful bidder means you've been accepted, but they probably have a time frame in order to finalize the deal with them. So we don't know what that time frame is yet, because we have not heard that information back from the federal government people. So we're still, stay tuned, sports fans. If somebody spent $58 million, that's a lot of money. If they want to rehab the existing units that are out there, there's a very large expense with that, because they were not built to any state building codes, because it was federal government construction and they are exempt. So there would be some modifications need to be made, and it may not be worth it to rehab versus demo and build the new, which may be where they're looking to go at $58 million. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see, and we'll let you know when we know. along that same lines was about the cleanup on the base property. Even though we don't have a master developer, that is still the Navy that's responsible for that. And they still are working here and there to do what they can to work through their cleanup plan. And then, oh, are we keeping the green space between Dana Estates and then once the new plan is to put in place? The community plan has not been changed. So that had the buffer, the green belt buffer there, I think 100 yards or so, whatever it was, between the existing community and the new development plan. So what we want to make sure is that when the specific plan comes in, and that's where Lennar had started their work, that we maintain that community vision plan on it. So if they want to make any changes, that's a whole thing they have to go through. But I'm not aware of any desire by anybody that wants to tamper with that buffer area. The only tampering I know of is that the area between going north to the North Concord BART station was narrower than what Dana Estates and Bishop Estates had. And the people up there feel that they were betrayed, so to speak, that they didn't get the same treatment. And so we've been trying to encourage development up there to widen out that buffer area and try to get more area. Part of that property, though, is the BART station property, and working with BART and who they select as a master developer for their property to try to enhance that. We'll see where that goes, because they're still in a process of trying to work that developer through their process to get them on board. And yes, you're welcome fixing the sidewalk on Linwood and Bellwood. Other questions, or you
you.
want me to keep going?
I don't see any questions on my end.
No raised hands. Okay. The other question was, how can we get speed bumps on Beechwood? If you want speed bumps, you would have to work together as a community, as a neighborhood, and make sure there's an agreement. We have a process to go through that requires voting of the neighbors to make sure everybody's okay with it. And the neighbors would need to collect the funds to pay for that cost. When we do street paving work, it's often cheaper because we will just, if you raise the money, we can add it on to one of the contracts that we have. So it's not a standalone project. So that's helpful. But if there's an agreement, we can work with you to figure out the estimate of what it would cost. And then you want to go forward, that there is some information on the city's website that can get you that information. Now, I will share with you, people on Landana Drive can tell you a lot about those speed bumps. Are they good or are they bad? Well, it depends where you live between the speed bumps. If you live in front of a speed bump, the cars stop, they squeal, the kids get on them, they rev their tires and they peel out. So if you're in between them, people go faster to make up for the distance. So kind of depends where you are in the spectrum. You know, if you're not right at the middle and you're right a few ways down after it, where you don't hear the peeling out, you may be okay with them. If you're right near them, people don't like them. And if you're in the middle, you get actually even a higher speed. So I would suggest if anybody's interested on Beechwood, they might want to talk to the residents on Landana and see what their experience has been first before they venture down that path, just to find out, has it worked or has it not worked? What have been the pitfalls and what have been the successes? So that's a tough one. But yes, it would require you to self-fund it if you want it. And then what are we doing to work with our aging population city programs? We're constantly working on ADA, American Disability Access improvements citywide. Our senior center certainly has a number of programs available to the public for exercise, connecting socially, as well as trips when we're in non-COVID times. Unfortunately, it's been shut down. So we're hopeful to be able to get that up and going here in the next, 6 months, 8 months down the road, as we kind of come to the new normal. And we do have a senior club that's active in our community that actually uses the space at the senior center. So those are some of the things at the city level. There's also Meals on Wheels, and we've done a great job on working with the county connection dial-a-ride, so to speak, but the paratransit service, and having those drivers, when we were shut down with COVID, deliver meals because a lot of the people who volunteered to deliver meals for Meals on Wheels were seniors, and they were shut down. They were in COVID land. So we had to pivot and try to find additional drivers and how to get meals out, not only for that, but for the school children as well through the lunch program at the school district. So we had a lot of great volunteers in our community. We leveraged our Chamber of Commerce people. We leveraged the bus company. We leveraged some church groups and other organizations that had younger people that wanted to do something, and was able to pivot all of that and get the meals out to where people needed the food and the resources and connect with them. And when we get back, the normal Meals on Wheels staff, a lot of them have been trained to talk to the seniors and find out if they have other needs, like trip and fall assessments. Maybe they need additional help in their home. So they kind of are the eyes and the ears out there when they deliver the meal, and they are able to connect with other resources and have some folks follow up with that senior and make sure that their home is safe, and maybe not be aware of some of the other services that are available to them because they're just homebound and they don't know. Yeah. Review.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I sit on the Center for Elders Independence Board, and it's a PACE program. It's a
Yep.
program for all-inclusive care for the elders, and the actual building is opening up on the 20th of April for all of us that are interested, or whoever asked about the senior question.
Oh, great.
And it's over there by the by the Water World Parkway off of Civic. And it's
Yes.
specifically designed as a medical wraparound. They go and get your parents. So I have an 84-year-old mother who has dementia. She can't stay in a house by herself, but she wants to stay in her own home, or if you have parents that want to stay in your own home. And they actually have buses that'll come pick you up, the short ones, and bring you to the center. And the center is amazing. I'm a gourmet cook, and the restaurant and the kitchen in there is amazing. Everything in there is amazing. And if you want a tour, just let me know. And so that's opening up 20 April. And the county has identified 4,236 seniors that are at risk. And the idea is to keep seniors in their homes because you have better quality of life. When people go to independent living or nursing homes, typically the average person in the United States passes away in 36 months. Our patients typically live 10, 15 years. 20% of the 2,000 people that we take care of are 100 years old. So they're pretty old. We have total medical, we have doctors, we have nurses, we teach people how to work with computers. I mean, it's the real deal, and it's very well funded. And Concord's been really amazing in welcoming the Center for Elders Independence and the PACE program. And it's only one of 20 in the whole United States. So it's right here in Concord. I sit on that board. So if you're interested in knowing more information about that for your senior self or somebody else, please feel free to reach out to me. My number is in the newsletter, or I think it's in the newsletter. If not, chair at danastates.org.
Danastates.org.
Yeah, thank you.
Danastates.org.
Yeah, thank you for that, because it's really, as I recall, because I remember them coming before the city council, it's a senior day
That was me.
program.
That was me.
And
Yeah.
I know it's kind of similar, but not to what Deborah Toth does over in Pleasant Hill with her day program.
Totally
But
different.
it's totally
Totally,
different. But
yeah.
I mean, it's serving
Yeah.
the seniors during the day, provides them
Definitely serving the
transportation
seniors
to and
for sure.
from. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like on steroids. It's kind of taking,
Yeah, we're a medical program.
Yeah, we've got
We
more
actually
wraparound
take you to
services.
your
Yeah.
doctor's appointments. We have doctors on premises.
Yeah.
If those doctors can't take you, we take you to your doctors, and it's all for the cost of your Medicare, Medi-Cal, or your private insurance. There is no other
out-of-pocket.
expense, no
Yeah.
out-of-pocket anything. So it's if you're interested, please
Yeah.
reach out to me or Dana. What is it, Chair at Dana Estates, and it'll
Yeah.
get to me.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
I'll
thank
just
you.
stop
Thank
there.
you for that. I didn't know that it
Thank
was opening. I saw that they were finishing up and they had some things that they completed on their construction side of things. And I didn't know
Yeah,
that they had an
it's
opening date.
totally done and ready to go. And anybody wants to go on a tour, reach out to me, let me know. We have limited tours, very small, 2 or 3 people. Can't do a whole gang or people. But the director, her name is Emily Hoshida. And Emily is a Concord resident, and she's thrilled to
Oh, I
be
know.
here.
Yeah.
and I'm just for the whole community. And it's right here in Concord, like I said, over on Civic Drive, right behind Waterworld. We just
Yep.
renovated a new 6,000 or 7,000 square foot place, spent millions of dollars getting it up to code. And it's federally funded, state funded, and I'm on the fundraising board. So we also fundraise for it as well. No cost to seniors except for their Medicare, Medi-Cal, or whatever insurance they have. It's the real deal.
Thank you, Paleo,
Thanks,
because
Stella.
I
Thank you
saw
very
the
much,
update.
Stella.
Yeah, I saw the update from the city building official that they had
Yeah.
pretty much got their final inspections and everything was set to go. And I was like, oh, well, they can't open to the public though. So I'm glad to hear that there's a date that is moving
Yeah.
forward with. That's good news. Very good news.
Thank you.
And we're getting close to the end of time, so does anyone else have any other questions they would like to ask our councilwoman? I don't see anything further on YouTube.
And nothing else has come in through the Zoom chat.
And I don't see any hands raised, so.
Let me just plug
Laura,
one
yeah.
more thing. Speaking of seniors, I
Uh-huh.
don't know that some folks are familiar, but the city does have a homeowner rehab loan and grant program that allows you to make some retrofits to make you safer in your home, whether it's bathrooms or other accessibility issues. So, like I said, that also serves a population in our community that they may not be aware that that's out there. And it's really a loan, and it's like paid back when you sell the property. And I think it's up to $10,000 or $20,000. I can't remember the exact number, but there's some funds out there that you can do some rehab to your home to make you be able to stay at home safely for a longer period of time.
Well, one of those things, Laura, is that with the PACE program, the Center for Elders, because it's so big, it's $185 million annual revenue nonprofit. So it's big in the area. 80% of all nonprofits are 3 million or less. So this is big. We actually work with, like, say, Rebuild Oakland today. So they have chapters where they actually have, it's like a Habitat for Humanity. Contractors come out and do work for free. Places like Truett and White and Home Depot donate materials. And because we're in the seniors, along with Meals on Wheels, senior
Outreach service, senior outreach services.
Caitlin Sly, her organization over there, new executive director, about a year ago. We actually will go into people's houses and we'll actually make the bathrooms accessible, lower the tubs, put in grab rails, put in ramps and things like that. So at no or very low cost, like $100 for the whole thing, even though it costs thousands of dollars, because contractors and Home Depot supply kinds of places, Truett and White, Ashby Lumber, all those kind of places donate things. And so we, because of the size of what we are, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit, we actually work with a lot of nonprofits to bring those services into seniors so they don't have to deal with it themselves, because our bus drivers go in their homes and
Right.
we can see exactly what they need and see exactly what's going on and what kind of help. And we can call in social workers or mental health workers. It's a total wraparound thing. So yeah, it's just another service in Concord. And we're also here to serve Pittsburgh and Antioch. So the next center is scheduled to be out in Antioch or Pittsburgh, but we wanted to get in Concord because that's the center hub right now, easy access to both highways and public transportation and things like that. So I'll just stop there. Commercial
And
over.
I know,
Thank
kind of
Thank
down
you.
the road, but Christmas is going to be here. But we also have Be a Santa to our senior program that we run, where seniors have needs, and we adopt the seniors and provide their needs at the Christmas time. And so that's very popular as well in our community, that we work with many of our nonprofit partners in helping to push that out into the community. So that's just some of the highlights.
Thank you. I thank you very much, Laura, and for being here for that. I really appreciate it. And my ears were up here, so you couldn't hear me as good. So I do have a couple other things. And Laura, I hope you're able to make our next neighborhood meeting, which will be in a couple months, and I'll reach out to you on it, see if you can come. I'll go share that. Let's go ahead and share it. Our Dana Night Out is actually on June 23rd, and Laura, if you'd like to be there too, that'd be great. And I'm definitely going to reach out to Pello to bring his nonprofit as part of our virtual world as a presentation for sure, because that's definitely great for a lot of our neighbors, because a lot of our neighbors are elderly. We do have young families, but elderly as well. So June 23rd is our virtual Dana Night Out, and unfortunately it looks like it's going to end up being virtual again because, again, we are also going by the city guidelines and the state guidelines, I
You're
should
not
say.
city. It's county and state. And
I
it's
just
now
I said, that's
mostly
why I said
state.
state. That's why I said state. I corrected myself. So yes, not city guidelines, state guidelines. So we have to go by what the state is telling us to do. So it looks like it's going to be virtual. But one of the things we are going to do is in hopefully October or November, we're going to do a Dana Estates Fair because we want to have a party. So when we find that we are able to do things, we're going to have an event down at Dana Plaza. So please keep an eye on the newsletter or at danaestates.org. And we're going to do something fun out there. We're going to have the free food out there. We're going to do as much as we possibly can to make it a really fun event. Music, the wonderful manager of Dana Plaza has already gave us the thumbs up for this. So we are definitely going to go out and have something really good for you guys and for the kiddies, the kiddos as well, because we definitely want to include our kids and our teenagers. So we're going to do something really fun to have sort of like a skate party, I suppose you could say, but it's going to be a fair. So we're going to have cotton candy and all kinds of fun things to do. So definitely watch for that. And the garage sale is for September 18th. We might do it a little sooner, but Lisa's husband, Peter, is actually being really kind and is going to actually run our garage sale this year. And he has just texted me, but I can't make it out the address. I only got part of it on my phone, so Lisa, if you know what the address is for people that want to want to join in on the garage sale, do you know it? I'll put it on social media everywhere, and it'll also be on our danaestates.org location for you to sign up for the garage sale. It looks like it's going to be September 18th, but we may be able to do it sooner because it looks like we can do garage sales now. So we might do it in August. So just to let you know, so August, September is kind of where we're going to be at with that. So please keep an eye out in your newsletter if you want to be a part of the garage sale. The next dumpster day is August 7th, as you see. The next neighborhood meeting is September 20th, and Laura already said she'd be here with that. We're going to do the Halloween costume or contest for decorating your house again to win a prize, as well as the holiday lighting contest. So again, keep an eye on your newsletter, danaestates.org, and of course, please follow us on Facebook. And we also need support. We really thank all of our neighbors who have supported us to help us to be able to continue to do these things. If you would like, go to danaestates.org and you can click the donate button and you can donate via PayPal, or you can mail it to 3957 Beechwood Drive. You also, if you go to Amazon, you can use this once in a while. If you have another Amazon Smile that you use or Smile Amazon that you use, by all means you can do that. But once in a while, use Dana Estates because we actually get money if you actually utilize Amazon. And you don't have to spend anything extra for that. So it makes it kind of fun. So we do thank you all, though, for all of you that did donate to us already. And that's it. So does my board have anything more they'd like to say?
Yeah,
Yes.
I got
Laura.
2 quick things. I want to just let the community know that the city council, up on our agenda coming up in the near future, we're going to talk about cannabis sales. We already had areas set aside where people could make a request, a competitive request to be a seller, producer, manufacturer. And so we're going to be going through that. The process was to go out and have people submit their request for the different areas. And then those were narrowed down by a team comprised of an outside reviewing firm plus our city staff. And so that's been narrowed down. There's an appeal by 2 of them right now that were very close to the cutoff line of where the top ones went forward or, could go to the next step. And that should finish up here in the next few weeks. So this spring, we will be dealing with cannabis. And the good news is it's not in Dana Estates or anybody's shopping center down there. There's none in our neighborhood areas. We do have a council member who thinks they should go anywhere, but he's in the minority view. And so we're starting slow with only having a few in town, and we will be evaluating those proposals anew. So if they made the cutoff from this first review process, their scores are not dependent upon the first one, still going to be the one the city council selects. Everybody starts anew on their presentation. So keep an eye out on our agendas for that. I'm sure the press and the media will cover it. And I don't know if the corporal covered this, but I just wanted to let you know, it's still frustrating for the city, and we get the complaints and the concerns from the community about what we call the lower level theft crimes or stealing or other drug sales under $950. They're misdemeanors. You get a ticket. The police department's very frustrated. They take a report and file it if it was something after the fact, and they may do some follow-up, or if they see it, they'll give the citation. The citations are being dismissed by the district attorney's office, even as a misdemeanor. So the frustration for our police department is, as soon as they have arrested somebody, issued the citation, they've been released from the jail, where they have to just sign paperwork that they got the citation, or they've been released in the field. By the time the police department's written up the report, they're often going back out to the same person for a new crime that they've committed, because they're all standalone. It's not cumulative. There is some state legislation in that I think it was out of San Francisco. The DA there wanted to have these, or the former DA wanted to have these made cumulative violations within a year's period of time. So somebody couldn't steal golf clubs out of a garage and go down the car and have an unlocked car and steal the laptop. And each one of these, adds up. Each one is a separate offense. So we know that there are people out there that do these low level thefts. They try to, fence the stolen merchandise for cash to go pay for their addictive drugs. And it's this vicious cycle. But our police are very frustrated because, they are released as soon as they catch them. And so that's a state law that the public voted on through a bill, or not a bill, but anyway, it was a law that the public put on the ballot through an initiative process. And that was one that we wanted to make certain crimes less of a situation where they would go into the prison system and the jail system. So we did two things. We reduced that to misdemeanors, and the judges no longer can mandate they go into treatment. So it's kind of like, if they don't want to go and they keep doing this, we can't do anything about it other than keep giving them tickets until they do something more serious. So our police department is just as frustrated as both your council and your community, where you guys see this stuff and you call and we respond, but kind of go, well, why are they still out there? That's why. So it's a frustration, but just want to share that with you, that we're aware of it. There's not a lot that we have the ability to do other than continuing our citation process and communicating with them. Police departments sometimes are successful in making that connection where finally somebody says, you know what, I'm tired of getting all these citations. I need to get help and I need treatment. But, they take their wins where they can. Out of every 20 people they contact, they might get one person that says, I want help. And we'll take the win.
Yep.
We'll take the one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with me. That's one of the frustrations that I seem to have as well, but I thank you.
My deal is, please lock your cars, take stuff out of visibility. Don't go down to Dana Estates to go grab the cheese zombie and leave your garage door open, because you're going to be back in just a few minutes, because then you set yourself up for a crime of opportunity. We all do this.
Yep.
So just make sure when you leave, your home is secured, and when you come home, your car's secured and you have things out of sight. Take them in your house, but don't keep them in your vehicle.
That's true. Very
If
good.
you got good neighbors like
Well,
Sue,
thank you.
she'll tell you that teenagers are at yours too.
That's
Exactly.
true. Well, I do want to
Okay.
thank our neighbors, and I know our board is back live and unmiked again. So do you guys want to say anything to anybody at all? So we'll get going and shut down. Angela, Lisa,
Yeah,
Sue,
thank you
Penny,
for everybody
anybody?
for joining. This was fantastic. I think we had a pretty fair turnout. It's exciting.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And Colleen, I did find the sellingdanaestates.com is where to go to sign up for the garage sale. So
Okay, thank you.
comments.
Okay, great.
Laura,
Thank
this
you.
is Taylor Walker. Thanks for your time.
Oh.
I appreciate it. And thank you
Yep.
for informing us. I appreciate it. You're good
Hey, my
public servant.
pleasure. Look forward to our next meeting and seeing, what
Yep.
new updated information I can give you. And, before the meeting, if you, as I know, Colleen will do, but, any questions you have in advance that I can make sure I've got the answers to, and if it involves other departments, feel free to send those to her so that we can, give you good information.
Yes, please do. And I'll make sure that our wonderful
Okay.
councilwoman gets it. And I do thank you too, Lauren. I thank all of you guys for being here. And I'm sorry we kept you guys 10 minutes late. Next is going to be our wonderful Dana Night Out virtual, and we're going to do a lot of fun things because I know that the board is really excited about this. We're going to get little Zoom rooms and all kinds of fun things. So I'm hoping you guys will attend that and enjoy it because we're going to try to make it really fun and engaging for everybody, including kids, teenagers, adults, and people my age, us old fogies. So I do thank you guys, and have a pleasant and wonderful night.
Thanks, Colleen, for setting up this meeting, and I hope you train me to do a good job too.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Joel will be our new webmaster soon.
I was
Thank
help.
you, guys. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Pleasant good night, and thank you again, Laura.
Okay, very welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.